to have an opportunity to put question to the civil party. Now, Council, you may proceed. Council, thank you, Mr. President, Your Honors. Good afternoon, civil party. I have a number of questions in relation to Krang Tachan, especially your experience and what you have heard, you witnessed during the K regime and a bit before and a bit after that regime. My first question will be on your response testifying on the 5th of February 2015 at 9:38 and a bit about this hour. You told the chamber that you fled from a military unit and you stay in a cooperative, and you also said that you did collecting wood, firewood to earn a living. My question for you: how long have you been a member in a militiaman before you fled away or you went away from that unit? Witness, it was in a year. It might be in a year where there was a bomber plane, B-52 bomber flying, and I was assigned to be on guard duty, and there was a bombardment at the main road, and then I fled to my house, my village, but I was not assigned as a militiaman. Council, so you were not one of the members of the military. You were simply assigned or allowed to take possession. Did you take any possession of any rifle or any weapon during that time? Respond: yes. We use the wooden bell with other group, and if you heard anything, any incident, you ring the wooden bell to signal. So, and then I left the place where I was assigned to signal the bad situation, and then I returned to my village. Council, when you say Tadauk in Khmer, was it a wooden bell kind of thing when you make sound to signal about something? Is it correct, civil party? Civil party, yes, you are correct. It's a kind of wooden bell. It's like a bell when you ring to signal something. Council, thank you. Can you indicate for the chamber the year when you were there, if you can recall? Witness, civil party. I'm not quite sure whether it was 1973 or 1974. Council, thank you, civil party. Talking about the transfer of yourself to Krang Tachan, you described the incident in which you were arrested, and you responded to the court already. And were there anyone else or other people brought to Krang Tachan on the same trip as yours? Civil party, there was another person who is adult, and he was detained in the western prison, the western building. And later after that, I did not see him any longer because I was also detained. Counsel, thank you. You have already told before the trial chamber that you don't remember the month you were arrested, but you indicated that it was in 1974. I would like to get a clarification from you that when you were traveling, was it a rainy season or a dry season? And was the ground wet or dry? Can you tell the court about that? Respond, yes. When I was traveling, the paddy field was growing, and I could see a fish jumping on the paddy dike. Counsel, thank you. Can you tell the court that it was a rainy season? Respond, yes, it was a rainy season. Counsel, thank you. Mr. President, I would like to hand document D125 over 122.32 to the civil party. And this document has been used for questioning by the co-prosecutor, and we request to have it shown on the screen. The President, your request is granted. Court officer is instructed to hand over the document to the civil party for examination, for review. Counsel, before I ask you a question about this map, can you read the letter or the text on the map? Witness, no, I cannot read. Counsel, thank you. So I would wish to read for you, and you can look at the image on the map on the top left, far left in the box. Say, read the West House for a light orphan prisoners. Can you see that image on the map, civil party, on the far left of the page? Civil party, yes, I do. Defense counsel, thank you. And next to it, there is a small oval, a round shape. It's called a guard post. And then there's a middle house for a series of prisoners. Do you see these three images on the map?
Yes, I do. Counsel. And further to the right, there is a box with the title House of Prison Chief, then middle house for serious offense prisoners, and then there is a guard post. And further on to the right, it's the East House for light offense prisoners. And the last box is a guard post. Can you see all the boxes that I just described? There are 9 in total. So there are 9 boxes that I just described. Can you see them all? Answer, yes. Also, I described the wording in those boxes. For instance, to the further left is a rest house for light offense prisoners. And the third box is the middle house for serious offense prisoners. My question to you is the following. Was there a categorization of prisoners? Answer, no. I did not see any categorization of prisoners. For prisoners who were last to work would be housed in the house east of the dining hall. Question. Have you seen this sketch before, or did you provide information so that this sketch was drawn based on that information? Answer, I cannot recall it, and I am not sure about this sketch or the nature of it. Question. Can you tell the court the building that you was initially detained? Answer, yes. Initially, upon my arrival, I was detained in the West House, and several months later, I was sent to the Eastern House of the dining hall. Question, when you refer to the West House, do you refer to the left or to the right-hand side of the sketch? Answer, I refer to the left. Question. You have stated before this court about the interrogation house when you said that there was a lower wall. And the question is the following. There is a box with the word interrogation house, which is almost to the middle of the sketch. And in fact, there are 2 boxes, but this interrogation house is the first box on the left. Can you identify it on the sketch? Answer, yes, I can. Question. Was the interrogation house remained at this one location during the entire period that you were at Krang Thachant, or did it move at any point in time? Answer, to my knowledge, it remained at this same location. Question. You were detained and you were shackled in the building. We read your statements, but there are still some things that I need to verify, get a verification from you. And also in the transcript on the 4th of February 2015, at 18:25 in the morning. You stated the following, that you were detained there for about 10 days or 2 weeks. And further down, you said you were detained for up to 1 month or more than 1 month. So during just this brief period of time of your testimony, you gave 2 different answers. So can you tell us what is the actual period of your initial detention there? Answer. As I stated, I did not think about counting the time due to the fact that I was rather young at the time, and I stated that I could be there for about a week or 2 weeks. Question. You mentioned one thing that you bent or cracked a coconut tree leaf in order to mark it as a count for each day of prisoners who entered the center. Can you recall that? Answer. Yes, I do. I counted a bend in the branch of a palm tree leaf for each day that a prisoner could survive after being tortured. And a prisoner could survive up to 18 days. Question. Did you do, can you tell the court when did you do that counting by marking the palm tree leaves? Answer. After I was let out to work during the day, and at night time I make a bend or crack on the tree leaf to note a day that had passed. Question. Can you tell the court when or what year you did that? Answer. I cannot recall the month or the year that I did it because it happened so long ago. Question. Did you do it during the first year that you were there, or was it towards the middle of the regime or towards the end of the regime that you were at Krang Tachan? Answer. I had been there for quite some time before I was allowed to work outside, that is to carry urine and feces. And after that, I started doing this day counting. Question. Let me return to my previous question on the number of days that you were detained at Krang Tachan. And you just said at that time you could be detained there for 10 days or a fortnight or 1 month or more than 1 month, and that you cannot give a concrete answer to that. Can you tell the court about the prisoners who were released to work outside, as in your case? Can you recall any names of those prisoners who were allowed to release for the purpose of working outside and not to be released and to go back to your village or cooperative. Answer, I can do that. At that time, there was a group of Yenyo, that is Yenyo and her relatives, and then there was Tachan and I, and then there were others, namely Tamu and his group. I cannot recall all their names, and many of them have died. Question, I'd like to ask you again to repeat your answer so that I can get clarification. And you said you were arrested in 1974 and that you were detained initially there for about a month or so. And I want to know, that is, during the period of 1974, how many of you were released when you were released? Answer, no one was released. In fact, we were let out to work. And that happened during 1974. And as I stated, I cannot recall their names because they were older than me, and we were housed in different buildings, east and west. Question, I'd like now to talk about the time that you were in that detention house. You have stated before the court that you actually was the one who inserts the metal bar or the iron bar into the ring of other prisoners, and that you would do that last because you were the last person in a row. My question is the following: how long did you continue doing that? Answer, when the prison was full of prisoners, then I was the one who was the last person would remove the iron bar. Question, my question is that during the time of your detention at Krantachan, and that you had to shackle other prisoners and then shackle yourself, how long did you practice doing that? Could be how many days or months or year? Answer, I cannot recall the month or the year. Question, what about the amount of time? Answer, I cannot recall it. I was young at the time. Question, you also stated before this court about distribution of meals to prisoners, and you described your role of tending water buffaloes and cows. My question is the following: were you assigned to also cook for prisoners at the Krantachan prison? Answer, no, I was not involved in the cooking. Only Yenyo was the cook. And because she was rather old, and as I was young, then two of us were assigned to carry rice and soup for the distribution to the prisoners in the building. Question: was that meal distribution a regular work that you had to do, or it was a non-regular work? Answer: it happened only occasionally, and it only happened when there were more prisoners in the building. Question: can you tell the court the frequency of doing that kind of work? Answer: it was rather frequent, but I cannot say the actual numbers of days. Question: let's say in a month, how many days did you distribute like rice or gruel to prisoners? Answer: I cannot do the calculation per month, as I did not ever think about how many days that I carry the food for a prisoners per month. Question: you have just stated that in each prison building, 2 of you were assigned to carry meal to the prisoners. Can you recall who was the other young man? Answer: there was no younger person there. There was I and Tachan, and Yinyo would prepare the food there in a coconut shell at the kitchen hall. Then we were instructed to carry those meals to the prisoners, and I only did it once or twice. Question: for the prisoners like you who were assigned to carry meals for the prisoners, how many young men like you at the time? Answer: I cannot say how many young men like myself, because there were different groups. Question: can you recall any names? Answer: no, not for the young men there. I only can recall the names of the children of Yinyo. Question: did you involve in any other work at the Krantachan prison during your detention throughout the regime, and that you haven't told the court yet? Answer: my regular work was to tend water buffaloes and cows and to plow the rice fields. As Tachan, he tended the horses, and another person did a separate thing. It's car. Question: what did you plow with? Answer: I use a plow, and I use the water buffaloes for the plowing. Question: and what did you plant? Answer: it was for rice plantation. During the dry season, we also grew different vegetables like cucumber, etc. Question: Can you recall anyone who worked with you in plowing the field? Answer, yes. It was Tachan. Tachan and I were the one who worked together there as we had a pair of water buffaloes and cows each. Question, anything else besides plowing the field? Answer, the work there varied after the plowing work concluded. Then we would be assigned to carry urines and feces from the prison buildings, and Tachan and I did that work together. Question, I'd like you now to tell us about the administrative structure at the Krang Tachan prison. Can you do that? Answer, as for the leaders, I have already testified before this court. There were 3 of them in a committee of the prison, and there were more than 10 security guards or soldiers. Question, I'd like you also to specify the time period, that is prior to 1975 and after 1975, if there was any changes to the administrative structure in Krang Tachan prison. For instance, when you entered Krang Tachan in 1974, who were in the leadership or in the management of the prison at the time? Answer, yes, I can do that. When I initially arrived, there was the change, that is prior to 75, and after 75, it was Ta An and Ta Ping and Duc Thom, or Big Duc. Question, and after that? You spoke about the An just then. President interrupts. Counsel, we already gave you instructions as to the identity of certain individuals working at Krang Tachan. And if you have questions in dealing with those identities, we would deal with it in due course. That is after the chamber rules on the request and the report by Risu. Counsel, thank you, Mr. President. And we would like also to inform the chamber that we will have some questions as to the relationship between the civil party and certain cadres working at the Krang Tachan office. Thank you. Question. I have some more questions for you, Mr. Civil Party. There was one event that you spoke about, that is on the sexual rape of 2 women in a mobile unit. You stated before this court about the wording used by a security guard when he came to see me, and that he told me that he had just done it and asked him to go and see. Can you tell the court when you said that the person had done it, what does it mean? Answer, yes, I can do that. He had done it and he killed the people already, and he used the bullet heads to insert into their vagina already, and then he asked me to go and see it and then to bury the dead bodies of the women. Question, in Khmer word, when you said he had done it, what does it mean? That he had killed the women, or that he had concluded a certain task, or it was in relation to the sexual rape? Answer, he told me that I had just done it and that I just killed them. And you could go and see and tell me what else you saw. Counsel, you just said that you went and told him that you saw it. What does it mean? You just added this new thing. Answer, he asked me whether I saw something, and I said, yes, I did. I think he means that whether I saw the bullet heads in the vagina of the women, but I didn't want to mention it straight like this. Question, I am not really understanding what you said. Did you speak through that security guard before or after you went to see the dead bodies? Answer, let me say that area was prohibited, and only when the security guards instruct a prisoner to go and do something, then the prisoner could be allowed to go. And initially, after he had done it, then he sent me to bury the dead bodies, and after I returned, he asked me whether I saw something, and of course I did see the bullet heads that he inserted into the vagina. Question, can I then say that you met the security guard 2 times? First, when he instructed you to go and see, and upon your return, he asked me of what you saw. So you made this security guard twice. Am I correct in saying that? Answer, no. I was ordered once to bury the dead bodies, and only upon my return, then he asked if I saw something, and I said, yes, I did. Counsel, I am confused now, Mr. Civil Party. First, of course, you said you could not go there unless you were ordered to. Was there an order for you to go there? And second, when you went there, and upon your return, did you report or talk to that particular security guard? Answer, the thing was that as a prisoner, I didn't have to speak about this. I was ordered to bury the dead bodies after he had killed it, and after that I returned, and I didn't dare to say about this to anyone. I would do anything as long as I could survive. Question, you said that you returned and then you were asked a question again, so it means there was a second meeting that took place. Can you tell the court whether there was a second meeting? Answer: it happens once because when I returned, he laughed and he opened the prison building to let me in. And if the court does not believe me, you can call him to confront with me. That person is still living today. Counsel: I'd like to ask you some more for details in regards to the so-called moral offenses. Did you ever hear such a term, moral offense, during that period? Answer: yes. Question: to your knowledge and experience in terms of the implication of the word moral offense, what did it mean at the time? Answer: to my understanding at the time, to commit a moral offense means to play around with a woman or to molest a woman. Questioned: and what is your understanding on the punishment for a moral offense? Answer: for that I did not know.
Counsel, among the prisoners you were detained at Krang Tachan, have you heard of any prisoner who were accused of being committing immoral offense? Respond: I don't know that because I didn't ask any person. Defense counsel, thank you, civil party. In your testimony before the trial chamber on the 4th of February 2015 at hours 4 minutes and 45 seconds, you told the court that when you respond to a question related to Tamok, you told the court that you saw him about once, twice, or 3 times. But when he was there, he spent just a short period of time, about 1 hour. If the senior leader, the prisoners were sent to the detention, they were locked up. Everything have to be completed before the arrival. I would like you to clarify for the court that how many times did you see Tamok? Civil party, I did not count his visit. Probably 2 or 3 times, because I did not imagine that I will be called to testify before the court like I do now. Counsel, thank you. Do you recall the year when you saw Tamok? Response: it was probably after the liberation of Phnom Penh. Counsel, how many years after the liberation you saw him there? Respond, I cannot recall that. Counsel, I would like to follow up this question. How do you know he was Tamok? Respond, I heard from the soldier. The soldiers told me. He told me that he was Ta 15. Counsel, how do you know that Ta 15 was Tamok? Respond, the soldier told me. Counsel, and did he tell you both Ta 15 and Tamok? Is this correct? Respond, yes. When you saw Tamok, where were you? Were you inside the detention building or inside the compound? Respond, I saw him while I was walking water buffalo to the water. It is next to the second fence. Question, do you know why or how those soldiers tell you that he was Ta 15? What was the reason that they told you? Response, I don't know the reason behind that because one of the soldiers walked behind me and he told me about that. Defense counsel, after you heard that, do you remember all the way? Was there any circumstances that trigger you to remember Tamok? Respond, yes, I remember because at that time we would hear Ta 15, but I got a chance to see him because people in the mobile unit just heard his name, but they did not see him. Question, how far were you standing when you saw Tamok? Respond, I was standing in a close proximity about 2 or 3 meters away while I was walking the buffalo. When you saw him, what did he do? I mean Tamok. Respond, he left his car and he walked toward Ta'an, and Ta'an came to receive him, and they went together. Defense counsel, did you see him while he was disembarking from a car or leaving the car, or when he was walking on the road? Respond, there was no road, there was a small path. He left his car and walked into the office, and then the chief of the office came to receive him. So I was walking water buffalo. I was not expecting his arrival, but I accidentally saw him. Counsel, I would like you to indicate the place where the car was parking. Was it inside the compound of Krang Tachan, or was it at the gate or the way toward Krang Tachan? Respond, I saw him next to the gate to the prison. It was the east gate. Counsel, so it means that the car was not entering into the compound. It was parking next to the east gate. Is this correct, civil party? Response, yes, it was parking nearby the east gate. Mr. President, now it is appropriate time for recess, so the court will resume at 3 o'clock. Court officer, please work with the vessel officer and also the TPO staff to have a break and then bring them back before 3 o'clock. The court is adjourned.